Few dog breeds create as many opinions as pit bulls. Mention a golden retriever and most people smile. Mention a Labrador and people think about friendly family dogs. Mention a pit bull and suddenly everybody has something to say. Some people see loyal companions. Some people see dangerous dogs. Some people see loving family pets. Others see a breed surrounded by controversy. And honestly, that's what makes pit bulls so fascinating, because few dogs have a reputation that arrives before they do. Long before people meet an individual pit bull, they've often already formed an opinion about the breed. The funny thing is that pit bull owners will usually tell you something very different. They'll talk about loyalty, affection, goofiness, and dogs that somehow believe they're lap dogs despite weighing far more than a lap should reasonably support. So today, we're looking at why pit bulls are one of the most misunderstood breeds in the world, and why the conversation around them is often much more complicated than people think. Before we start, make sure to check out our selected and recommended products linked down below. 1. Their reputation arrives before they do. One of the most unusual things about pit bulls is that people often form an opinion about them before they've ever met one. And honestly, very few dog breeds experience that. Most dogs get judged as individuals. Pit bulls often get judged as a category. The moment someone hears the words pit bull, a picture immediately appears in their mind. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. But almost always, the opinion arrives before the dog does. And that's a strange situation for any breed, because dogs, like people, are individuals. Yet pit bulls are often discussed as though every single one is exactly the same. Owners notice this all the time. People who have never met their dog suddenly have strong opinions about it. People make assumptions, predictions, conclusions, all before the dog has even wagged its tail. And honestly, that can create a very unfair situation, because the average pit bull doesn't wake up thinking about its reputation. The dog wakes up thinking about breakfast, or toys, or whether somebody is willing to share part of a sandwich. The same things most dogs think about. What's especially interesting is how different people's experiences can be. One person sees a pit bull and remembers a negative news story. Another sees a pit bull and remembers a beloved family pet. Both people believe they're being objective, but they're starting from completely different places. That's why conversations about pit bulls often become emotional so quickly. People aren't just discussing dogs, they're discussing experiences, beliefs, and assumptions they've built over years. Meanwhile, the dog is usually just sitting there wondering why nobody has thrown a tennis ball yet. And honestly, that's part of what makes pit bulls so misunderstood. The reputation often becomes larger than the individual dog. The stereotype becomes louder than reality. And once that happens, people sometimes stop seeing the animal in front of them. They start seeing whatever story they've already decided to believe, which is exactly why pit bulls end up creating stronger opinions than almost any other breed. The conversation starts before the dog even enters the room. 2. People see the breed before the dog. One of the biggest challenges pit bulls face is that people often notice the breed before they notice the individual dog. And honestly, that's something most dogs never have to deal with. A golden retriever gets to be a golden retriever. A Labrador gets to be a Labrador. A pit bull often becomes a representative for an entire debate, which is a lot of pressure for a dog that was mostly hoping somebody would throw a ball. Owners see this all the time. Their dog can be calm, friendly, relaxed, and yet some people still seem nervous before they've even interacted with it. Not because of anything the dog has done, but because of what they've heard. And honestly, it's easy to understand why. Most people don't spend their free time researching dog breeds. They build opinions from stories, news reports, videos, conversations, and over time, those pieces of information become a mental shortcut. The problem is that shortcuts aren't always accurate, because dogs are individuals. Just like people, Two pit bulls can have completely different personalities, different energy levels, different temperaments, different experiences, yet they're often grouped together as though they're identical. What's funny is that many pit bull owners describe their dogs in ways that surprise people: affectionate, clingy, playful, goofy. The kind of dog that desperately wants to be included in whatever the family is doing. And that's where the disconnect begins. Because the dog people expect and the dog they actually meet aren't always the same, sometimes not even close. That's one reason pit bull owners become so passionate when discussing the breed. They're not talking about statistics. They're talking about a dog they know personally, a dog with habits, preferences, quirks, and a personality that doesn't fit neatly into a stereotype. Of course, none of this means every pit bull is the same. No breed works that way. The point is that assumptions can sometimes prevent people from seeing what's actually in front of them. And for pit bulls, that happens more often than with almost any other breed. People meet the label first, the dog second, which is exactly why so many conversations about pit bulls become complicated before the dog has even done anything at all. 3. Why pit bulls become so loyal. One thing that surprises many people about pit bulls is just how attached they can become to their families. Because beneath all the debate, all the opinions, and all the stereotypes, many pit bulls are incredibly people-oriented dogs. They don't just enjoy being around their owners. They often want to be involved in absolutely everything. And honestly, that's one of the reasons pit bull owners become so devoted to the breed. These dogs form strong bonds. Very strong bonds. Owners constantly tell stories about pit bulls following them from room to room, sleeping beside them whenever possible, and somehow appearing the second food, attention, or emotional support becomes available. Sometimes, all three at once. What's funny is that pit bulls often have absolutely no awareness of their own size. A fully grown pit bull can weigh over 50 pounds and still decide that the ideal place to sit is directly on top of a human being. The dog sees a lap. The dog has a plan. Physics can sort itself out later. And honestly, this affectionate side catches a lot of people off guard because it doesn't match the image many expect. People often imagine tough, intimidating dogs. Pit bull owners frequently describe oversized cuddle enthusiasts. Dogs that want attention, dogs that want interaction, dogs that somehow become emotionally invested in every activity happening in the house. Watching television, participation requested. Working on a laptop, participation requested. Trying to eat a sandwich in peace, participation definitely requested. And while every dog is different, this strong attachment is one reason pit bulls develop such loyal fan bases. Owners aren't just talking about a breed, they're talking about a relationship. A dog that greets them every day, a dog that wants to be close, a dog that forms deep connections with the people it trusts, which is also why criticism of the breed often feels personal to owners. Because they're comparing public opinions to the dog sleeping on their couch, the dog they know, the dog they've lived with. And in many cases, that dog looks a lot less like a stereotype and a lot more like an affectionate family companion, which is exactly why so many pit bull owners spend years trying to convince people to look beyond the reputation and see the dog itself. Don't forget to check out our selected and recommended products. They might just be the perfect tools to make your life easier when it comes to caring for your pawed friend. 4. The strength that makes people nervous. One reason pit bulls generate stronger reactions than many other breeds is that they're powerful dogs. And honestly, pretending otherwise wouldn't make much sense. These dogs are muscular, athletic, determined, and physically capable in ways that naturally get people's attention. The problem is that many conversations stop right there. People see strength and immediately assume they understand everything they need to know. But strength by itself doesn't tell the whole story. A border collie has intelligence. A husky has endurance. A greyhound has speed. A pit bull has strength. That's simply one of the traits the breed is known for. The interesting question is what happens with that strength, because strength isn't a personality, it's a capability. And like any capability, the outcome depends heavily on training, socialization, environment, and responsible ownership. What's funny is that many pit bulls seem completely unaware of how powerful they actually are. Owners constantly describe situations where their dog behaves like an oversized puppy. The dog wants to play. The dog wants attention. The dog wants to sit on somebody's lap despite being much larger than a lap was designed to accommodate. And sometimes that enthusiasm creates accidental chaos. Not because the dog is trying to be intimidating, because the dog forgot it isn't a 30-pound puppy anymore. At the same time, this physical strength is one reason responsible ownership matters so much. A powerful dog of any breed requires guidance, training, boundaries, structure. That's true whether you're talking about a German Shepherd, a Rottweiler, a Doberman, or a pit bull. And honestly, most experienced dog owners already understand this. The stronger the dog, the more important good habits become. What's unfortunate is that people sometimes focus so heavily on the breed's strength that they overlook everything else. The affection, the loyalty, the personality, the individual dog standing in front of them. Instead, the conversation becomes entirely about physical ability. And while strength is certainly part of the pit bull story, it isn't the entire story. Not even close. Because a breed can be strong and still be affectionate. Strong and still be playful. Strong and still spend half the day trying to convince somebody to share a snack. And honestly, that's where a lot of the misunderstanding begins. People notice the muscles first. The personality comes later. 5. Why good owners matter so much. One thing you'll hear from experienced dog owners over and over again is that ownership matters a lot. And honestly, that's true for every breed. But it becomes especially important when people are talking about pit bulls. Because when a breed is surrounded by strong opinions, people often start looking for simple explanations. The reality is usually more complicated. Dogs are influenced by a lot of factors: training, socialization, environment, experiences, the people responsible for them. All of these things help shape behavior, and that's one reason conversations about pit bulls can become so frustrating. Some people want a simple answer, a simple explanation, a simple conclusion. But dogs rarely work that way. What's interesting is that many responsible pit bull owners become extremely dedicated to training and socialization, partly because they care about their dogs, and partly because they know people are paying attention. Owners often feel like their dog is being evaluated more closely than other breeds, which means good behavior matters even more. A well-trained dog becomes an ambassador. Every positive interaction helps challenge assumptions. Every friendly encounter gives people a different perspective. And honestly, that's one reason so many pit bull owners put so much effort into their dogs. They know the breed's reputation exists. They know people have concerns. And they want their dog's behavior to speak for itself. What's funny is that many pit bulls seem perfectly happy with this arrangement. Give them clear expectations. Give them consistency. Give them something productive to do. And many of them thrive. Like most dogs, they generally do best when somebody takes the time to guide them, set boundaries, build trust, and create structure. Because despite all the arguments people have online, one thing most experienced dog owners agree on is surprisingly simple. Good ownership matters. A lot. Not just for pit bulls, for every dog. The difference is that with pit bulls, people tend to notice it more, which is why responsible ownership becomes such a huge part of the conversation surrounding the breed. So why are pit bulls misunderstood? Because very few breeds carry a reputation as large as the one surrounding them. People often arrive with opinions already formed, assumptions already made, stories already heard, long before they ever meet an individual dog. And that's what makes the conversation so complicated, because behind every stereotype is a real animal. A dog with its own personality, its own experiences, its own habits and quirks. Some pit bulls are energetic, some are calm, some are playful, some are stubborn, just like any other breed. The truth is that no single story can fully explain millions of dogs, and no single stereotype can accurately describe them either. That's why pit bulls continue to inspire debate, discussion, and strong opinions from every direction. Not because they're simple, but because they're complicated. And honestly, maybe that's exactly why so many people misunderstand them in the first place. It's a lot easier to judge a reputation than it is to get to know a dog. Don't forget to check out our selected and recommended products. They might just be the perfect tools to make your life easier when it comes to caring for your pawed friend.